The Earth, it's home to some wacky-looking things. So for today's video, we're going to count down the 15 weirdest shapes seen from space. Let's start with number 15, the Badlands Guardian. In the rugged terrain of southeastern Alberta, Canada, there's a formation that can only be fully appreciated from the air. It's known as the Badlands Guardian. This landform looks unmistakably like the profile of a human head, complete with a headdress. It's located near Medicine Hat, and it remains a striking example of natural erosion that creates a shape that seems far too deliberate to be accidental. Despite the lifelike details, though, no human hand played a role in shaping it. Instead, it's the result of erosion sculpting the landscape over centuries. It was first noticed in the digital age. It wasn't a long-standing legend or a formation recognized by early explorers. Instead, it came to widespread attention thanks to Google Earth. Satellite imagery captured the formation in stunning clarity, and that revealed a face that looked as though it's been carved with intent. When the discovery was shared online, it sparked excitement and intrigue, particularly in Canada, where the formation quickly gained some fame. A contest was held to name it, and Badlands Guardian was the chosen title. Adding to the illusion, the surrounding gullies and ridges resemble a traditional First Nations headdress. The resemblance is so strong that even though the feature is concave rather than complex, the human brain perceives it as a three-dimensional figure staring out across the landscape. But the strange details of the Guardian didn't stop at its natural form. A dirt road and an oil well constructed nearby, long after the formation itself took shape, created the unintentional illusion of the figure wearing earbuds. From above, it looks like the Guardian's listening to an unseen device, an accidental detail that adds an unexpected and modern twist to an otherwise ancient geological feature. Satellite images clearly capture its form, making it one of the more distinct land-based shapes visible from orbit. Many large-scale shapes visible from space, like crop formations or massive geoglyphs, were created intentionally by people. This one is purely the work of wind, water, and time. Number 14. The Face on Mars. The face on Mars is one of the more unusual formations ever seen in space. First spotted in 1976 by the NASA's Viking 1 orbiter, this landform in the Cydonia region of Mars captured immediate attention because of its striking resemblance to a human face. It appeared to have a distinct forehead, eyes, nose, and mouth, all set against the Martian landscape. This image sparked intense speculation, with some believing it to be evidence of an ancient alien civilization. Well, from orbit, the face on Mars is a large mesa, a type of elevated landform with a flat top and steep sides. At first glance, though, the aerial view is uncanny. Shadows fall in a way that makes the formation look like a massive carved head that stares upwards. The resemblance is so strong that when the image was released, many were convinced that it couldn't be natural. The idea that an intelligent species may have once lived on Mars gained some traction, and theories about lost civilizations, alien architects, and even connections to the structures on Earth began to circulate. Now, the region of Cydonia is filled with mesas, ridges, and rock formations that have been shaped over millions of years. Some scientists initially thought the area might have once been covered in water, and the landforms were left behind as the planet dried up. Others proposed that wind and erosion sculpted the landscape into these unusual shapes. However, the resemblance to a face was difficult to ignore. Over time, as better cameras were sent to Mars, the detail of the formation became clearer. In 2001, the Mars Global Surveyor captured high-resolution images of the formation, showing that the face was an illusion. The improved images revealed a rugged, uneven mesa with no actual facial features. The original Viking 1 image had to be taken at low resolution with poor lighting that exaggerated natural ridges and depressions. This effect, known as pareidolia, is the same reason people see familiar shapes in the clouds or patterns in rock formations on Earth. When the angle of the light changed, the face disappeared. Despite the scientific explanation, though, interest in the formation has never fully faded. Number 13. Ureta's Forest Guitar. In the vast, flat plains of Argentina's Pampas, a curious sight stands out amid the regular agricultural fields: a guitar-shaped forest. This unusual creation, spanning nearly 2/3 of a mile, is not a product of nature's whims, but a man-made tribute to a lost love. Known as Ureta's forest guitar, this piece of land art is both a monument to grief and a striking example of how human effort can leave an indelible mark on the landscape, even when viewed from above. The story behind the guitar begins in the late 1970s. Pedro Martin Ureta, a farmer, and his wife Graciela shared a love for the pampas and the quiet beauty of rural Argentina. During a flight over the fields, Graciela noticed a farm shaped like a milk pail and suggested that they create a unique design for their own land, perhaps a giant guitar, in honor of her favorite instrument. Pedro agreed, though they decided to postpone the idea until they had more time. Tragically, Graciela died in 1977 at the age of 25, leaving Pedro devastated. In the wake of her sudden passing, Pedro was compelled to fulfill the dream that they shared. Starting in 1979, he set about planting the guitar-shaped forest. With the help of his 4 children, Pedro carefully outlined the shape of the guitar on the ground, using trees to form the neck, body, and strings of the instrument. Cypress trees were used for the outline, while blue eucalyptus trees were placed to represent the strings on the neck of the guitar. Over the years, he planted more than 7,000 trees, working tirelessly to complete the tribute that his wife had never seen realized. From the ground, the guitar is an impressive sight, especially when viewed from an airplane. Its shape is clear and precise, and it stretches across the landscape, with the star-shaped hole in the middle of the guitar's body adding a distinctive touch. Though Ureta has never seen his creation from the sky due to his fear of flying, the forest is visible from space. In fact, NASA captured an image of the guitar-shaped forest in 2007 using the Advanced Spaceborne Thermal Emission and Reflection Radiometer aboard the Terra satellite. This image, taken in false color, highlights the forest's unique form amid the flat, vast pampas. It stands out in contrast to the agricultural fields surrounding it, and that makes it a visible landmark from both space and sky. Number 12. Canada's Spotted Lake. Canada's Spotted Lake. It's located in British Columbia. It's one of the most striking and unusual formations on the planet. When seen from above, it resembles a massive polka dot pattern with dozens of colorful spots scattered across the surface of the water. This curious appearance, however, is not just an optical illusion. It's the result of a unique mineral composition of the lake, which undergoes a dramatic transformation during the summer months. This phenomenon has puzzled observers for centuries, and from a satellite's vantage point, the lake appears as a patchwork of vibrant circular pools, almost as if someone had dropped colorful paint onto the surface of the water. The Spotted Lake, known as Klilok to the First Nations people, is located in southern British Columbia. The lake itself is less than a kilometer long and roughly a quarter-kilometer wide. Its shores stretch for about 1.7 kilometers. That makes it an impressive sight in the flat landscape of the surrounding grasslands. It's visible from Highway 3 and its location is close to the U.S. border, and it's just a short distance from Washington State. But what makes it truly bizarre, especially from an aerial view, is that polka dot appearance. Minerals including magnesium, calcium, and sodium sulfates crystallize and form colorful pools of varying sizes. The colors of these spots shift depending on the chemical makeup of the mineral deposit, with hues ranging from vibrant green and yellow to deep blue and white. Experts believe there's around 360 spots in the lake, one for each day of the year, though the exact number can vary depending on water levels and evaporation rates. Interestingly, this lake is visible from space. Images captured by satellite show the surface in striking detail, emphasizing just how distinctive it is among the many natural features in Canada. The colorful spots, arranged in a pattern of concentric circles, are visible from afar, making it one of the most bizarre formations on Earth when viewed from above. This is only added to the intrigue surrounding the lake, as scientists, tourists, and locals marvel at the spectacle of this mineral-rich body of water. Number 11. The Namib Desert Fairy Circles. The Namib Desert, it's one of the driest places on Earth. It's home to one of nature's most perplexing phenomena, the fairy circles. These strange, barren patches of land appear scattered across the desert, each forming a near-perfect circular shape. From an aerial view, the landscape seems almost normal until you notice the hundreds of these distinct circles, bare patches surrounded by grass that grow in what would otherwise be arid conditions. Located in southern Namibia, these circles are concentrated in a region of the Namib Desert near the border with Angola, with some of the most notable concentrations found in the Namib Nature Reserve. While the exact boundaries vary, fairy circles can be spotted from space, and they stretch across an area covering thousands of square kilometers. Now, these circles are typically between 6 to 40 feet in diameter, though the diameter can change as they age. The rings have become such a striking feature that they're visible from satellites, with their regular patterns standing out starkly against the expanse of desert sand. One theory suggests that termites are responsible for creating these barren patches. Termites, specifically the sand termite, are thought to be the primary builders of these circles. They burrow into the soil and consume the vegetation. Their activity makes the soil porous, allowing water to penetrate deeper into the earth. This water then accumulates underground, creating a moist layer that promotes the growth of grass around the circle. In this way, the termites are inadvertently creating a unique ecosystem that sustains the plants surrounding it. While another theory has gained support from some researchers, involves competition between plants for water. In this theory, grasses grow in a way that help their neighbors by creating shade and trapping moisture at the surface. However, as the plants spread their roots further, they begin to deplete the water in the areas, preventing other plants from growing in the same space. Well, despite their uncertainty surrounding the origin, fairy circles are not merely a scientific curiosity. They are an essential feature of the desert ecosystem. These moist pockets created by the termites or plants enable a variety of plants and animals to survive in a region that otherwise receives little rainfall. These circles are a delicate balance of nature, where water, soil, and life come together in an intricate dance that remains largely unexplained. Number 10. The Palm and World Islands. The Palm and World Islands, located off the coast of Dubai, are some of the most recognizable creations on the planet. From a high viewpoint, particularly from space, these islands reveal a view unlike anything else on the planet, a miniature world within a world. The Palm Islands, shaped like the branches of a palm tree, and the World Islands, shaped like the map of the world, appear as an intricate and deliberate design etched into the Persian Gulf. These massive constructions are both an example of human ambition and a subject of debate, with their long-term viability questioned as the years go on. The World Islands project was conceived in 2003 by Dubai's ruler Sheikh Maktoum. It was intended to be a bold leap beyond the success of the Palm Islands. The plan was for 300 islands arranged in the shape of a world map, each island representing a country. The project was massive, requiring 320 million cubic meters of sand, roughly the volume of 150 Major League Baseball stadiums. Stretching over 52 square kilometers, it was a monumental undertaking, costing over $14 billion. The idea was to create a one-of-a-kind development visible from space, a patchwork of nations located in the warm waters of the Gulf. From above, the World Islands indeed have an otherworldly look. The islands take the rough shape of the continents, but the detail quickly fades. The areas representing Africa, Asia, and Europe kind of merge into an indistinguishable clump, with countries that are supposed to stand out like Central America barely visible. Australia is little more than a series of rectangular sandbars, and much of the map's precise borders have been eroded over time. Though 60% of the islands were sold to private investors in 2008, most of them have remained untouched. Only 9 islands have been developed, and even these are far from what the original plans promised. Lebanon Island, Pete's Island, and the Heart of Europe Resort stand as the few developed areas, with the rest left to the elements. The grand plans to install underwater power cables to provide electricity haven't been fully realized, leaving the islands without a consistent power source. Well, the World Islands, though still incomplete, continue to mystify. Their odd, fragmented shapes and the idea of turning a map of the world into something tangible remain impressive. But from space, the view is like a giant puzzle, only half-formed, with missing pieces and somewhat forgotten by the winds and tides. It's a reminder that sometimes even the most ambitious plans can be overtaken by the power of nature. Number 9. Edwards Air Force Base. Edwards Air Force Base, located in California's Mojave Desert, is home to the longest military runway in the United States, runway 5 right or 23 left. Stretching a colossal 4,600 meters, it's one of the most curious and recognizable shapes visible from space. The scale of this structure, along with its surroundings, makes it a sight for anyone looking at aerial views of the base from above. From that bird's-eye view, Edwards Air Force Base's runway is a striking long strip cutting through the desert floor. The lake bed, which stretches for kilometers, would seem to be a natural extension for emergency landings or additional testing, and the combination of the perfectly flat, hard desert floor and the massive runway presents a strange, almost futuristic landscape when viewed from above. The origins of the Air Force Base trace back to 1937, when the site, originally known as Muroc Field, began to see aerial activity. It wasn't until the 1940s when the U.S. Army Air Corps saw the potential of this flat, expansive dry lake bed for flight testing. The enormous 15,000-foot runway, completed in a single pour of concrete, was designed to give test pilots more than enough space to safely conduct their trials. The runway's length allows for safety, particularly when testing aircraft that need huge spaces to maneuver or regain control in high-speed situations. NASA also uses the base as part of its Dryden Flight Research Center. In fact, the runway has served as a landing site for the space shuttle, making it a key player in space exploration history. But what makes it so strange is not just its size, but it's the history too. The base's location in the Mojave Desert, along with the immense runway, speaks to its dual purpose, a testing ground for aviation and spaceflight, and a site that's played both a role in military and civilian aviation history. The runway has long been used for aircraft testing, from bombers to space shuttles, and its unbroken stretch across the desert has witnessed countless technological milestones. Number 8. Flashing lights. In 2017, strange flashes of light caught from space sparked some curiosity, even conspiracy theories. These unusual bursts, spotted by NASA's Discover satellite positioned about 1.6 million kilometers away from Earth, first appeared as seemingly random glimmers bouncing off the planet's surface. For some, these flashes seem to be an otherworldly communication, perhaps signals from extraterrestrials. Yet after much investigation, scientists discovered a far more down-to-earth explanation. The lights are reflections from ice particles in the atmosphere. This phenomenon was first observed in 1993 by NASA scientist Carl Sagan, who noticed flashes of light on the Earth's oceans in images taken by the Galileo spacecraft. At the time, Sagan believed these flashes were reflections from Earth's huge bodies of water, and this theory made sense. Oceans, with their large reflective surfaces, were the most likely culprits. However, things took a strange turn when similar flashes began appearing over land, far from any oceans. This raised new questions. If the flashes weren't reflections from the water, then what could be causing them? NASA's Alexander Marshak, the deputy project scientist for Discover, was puzzled at first. Quote, "When I first saw it, I thought maybe there was some water there, or a lake the sun reflects off of, but the glint is pretty big, so it wasn't that." End quote. These flashes are not random, but they're tied to specific conditions. When the sunlight hits these horizontally aligned ice crystals at just the right angle, they reflect the light back towards the satellite. Now, what makes these flashes so strange isn't just their unexpected source, but the fact that they can be seen from space. They reveal an aspect of Earth that's often invisible to the naked eye. The phenomenon also raises interesting questions about how Earth's atmosphere behaves and how light interacts with it. These glints, though seemingly mysterious at first, are entirely natural, caused by reflecting sunlight off particles far above the surface of the planet. Moving on to number 7, Starry Night. From space, Earth often presents landscapes that defy expectation, forming patterns that seem more like paintings than natural formations. One of the strangest and most visually striking images ever captured from orbit is a swirling mass of green and blue in the Baltic Sea. Taken by NASA's Landsat 7 satellite on July 13, 2005, these photographs reveal massive blooms of phytoplankton swirling around Gotland, a Swedish island in the middle of the sea. The resemblance to Vincent van Gogh's Starry Night is uncanny, with these spirals and eddies stretching for kilometers across the water. Astronauts aboard the International Space Station have reported similar sights from orbit, large phytoplankton blooms that can sometimes be seen without magnification, forming these bright streaks in the water. This particular event, however, stood out because of its shape and its size. From space, it looked more like an enormous mural stretched across the sea than a biological phenomenon. The full scale of these swirling patterns wasn't understood until the advent of satellite imaging. The 2005 Landsat 7 image was one of the clearest and most visually striking examples ever recorded, and it brought widespread attention to this phenomenon. That similarity to Starry Night only added to its appeal, and it captured the interest of not just scientists, but also artists and the general public. Blooms of these phytoplankton happen when deep currents bring nutrient-rich water to the surface, fueling rapid growth and reproduction. When conditions are right, enough sunlight, proper temperatures, and an abundance of nutrients, these phytoplankton can multiply so quickly that they become visible from space. In the Baltic Sea, where this image was taken, the currents are influenced by both the narrow geography of the region and the inflow of fresh water from rivers. The result is a twisting, churning motion that shapes the bloom into this distinctive appearance. Number 6. The Maha Kumbh Mela. The Maha Kumbh Mela, held every 12 years at the sacred Triveni Sangam in India, is one of the largest human gatherings in the world. Seen from space, this religious spectacle transforms into an awe-inspiring sight unlike anything on Earth. Captured by satellites, including India's Cartosat-2 and NASA's astronaut Don Petit from the International Space Station, the sheer scale of this event becomes clear. A sprawling collection of radiant lights, human energy, and devotion sprawling along the banks of the Ganges River. It's as though Earth itself is illuminated by the thousands of people gathered for this religious ritual, their movement creating a mesmerizing, radiating pattern. The first recorded observation of this spectacle from space happened on January 26, 2025, when Don Petit, an astronaut aboard the International Space Station, shared stunning images of the illuminated gathering. He's known for his astrophotography, and 555 days aboard the ISS, he marveled at the sight. His pictures, taken from more than 380 kilometers above Earth, showed a scene that was almost surreal. The organized chaos of the millions of devotees, all in different stages of spiritual practice, transforms into a synchronized display of human devotion. The illuminated riverbanks mark the sacred convergence of three rivers, and the immense number of people in attendance only accentuates that point. The imagery is both humbling and magnificent, as the lights shimmer along the banks, casting reflections on the water surface, which can also be seen from these images. The scale of the event is what makes it so strange. A gathering of this magnitude is rare, and the fact that it can be captured from space allows us to view it as a significant human achievement. It's not just the number of people, millions of people travel there, but the way they come together, not for entertainment, but for a shared, deeply spiritual purpose. The strange part is how this massive gathering is intricately tied to the natural environment, aligned with sacred rivers and influenced by celestial bodies. From the air, it almost looks like a shimmering cosmic event. Number 5. Kumpupintil Lake. Now, Kumpupintil Lake, formerly known as Lake Disappointment, is one of the most unusual features of the Australian landscape. It's situated in the Little Sandy Desert that's approximately 160 kilometers east of Pilbara region and 300 kilometers from the mining town of Newman. This lake is a vast site stretching about 33,000 hectares. This strange nature of the lake has earned it recognition, particularly for its odd appearance from above, making it one of the most striking landforms visible from space. The dry lake bed, often salt-encrusted, stands in a stark contrast to the surrounding orange and brown hues of the desert. The lake bed itself is surrounded by sand dunes, with the Canning Stock Route running along its western shore, adding to its isolation. It's an oddity in the landscape, sure, a body of water that appears and disappears, leaving behind an impression of something unfinished, yet mesmerizingly distinctive. First noticed in the early 20th century, Lake Disappointment was originally named by an early European explorer, William Dampier, who in 1699 arrived at the site in search of fresh water. Instead, he found only a dry and salty basin, which led him to call it Lake Disappointment. Now, what makes it really strange, especially from above, is not just the size, but the unexpected nature of the basin. The lake doesn't have any outlet. The water that flows in does not flow out, but instead evaporates, leaving behind salt deposits. This creates a bright reflective surface that can be seen from orbit, making it stand out against the arid desert. The mystery deepens a bit when one considers the indigenous significance of the lake. To the Martu people, this lake holds deep spiritual importance. It's considered a sacred site, and its ancestral beings are said to live below the surface. According to the indigenous lore, the peoples were once split into two factions, one group deciding to abandon cannibalism, while the other continued with the practice. The lake was considered off-limits to neighboring tribes, and the spirits were believed to be capable of attacking those who dared to approach or even fly over the lake. In more recent times, the lakes provided scientists and biologists with some new discoveries. For example, in 2007, a previously unknown species of dragon lizard was discovered in the area, further underscoring the importance of this site. From space, the appearance is unmistakable. It appears as a patch of white in the middle of an otherwise barren desert. During periods of flooding, though, the lake does fill with water, and it temporarily transforms into a large, shimmering body, although it remains only a fleeting feature on the desert landscape. Despite the lake's prominence in space imagery, the lake is a natural phenomenon, shaped over millennia by the desert's dry climate and sporadic flooding. However, the cultural significance of this lake and the mythological stories surrounding it give it a sense of being more than just a natural formation. It's a site that ties the physical and spiritual worlds together, and its appearance from above seems to only amplify its sense of mystery. Number 4. The Amazon Deforestation Fishbone Pattern. From space, the Amazon rainforest appears as a deep green mass stretching across northern South America, broken only by winding rivers and the occasional settlement. But in certain areas, something strange interrupts the forest's natural patterns, an unmistakable shape that looks like the skeleton of a fish. A long central road that cuts through the dense jungles like a backbone, while smaller roads and clearings extend outward in sharp, evenly spaced rows, forming what appear to be ribs. Well, this is the Amazon fishbone, one of the most striking unnatural formations visible from orbit. This pattern didn't always exist. For much of history, the Amazon remained untouched except for small indigenous communities who lived within it, leaving little trace that could be seen from above. The transformation happened in the 1970s when the Brazilian government launched an ambitious effort to develop the rainforest. The plan was to build the Trans-Amazonian Highway, a massive road network that stretched for thousands of kilometers. It was part of a larger push to encourage migration from the overcrowded cities and bring economic growth to the remote interior. The backbone of the fish is the main highway, which slices through the rainforest in long, straight sections. The first clearings were pretty small, but as more people arrived and began farming, they grew. At first, the land was used for crops, but poor soil conditions meant that within a few years, much of it became cattle pasture. Over time, small farms were consolidated into larger ranches. But the method of deforestation is what makes the fishbone so striking from above. Unlike the irregular patterns of natural clearings caused by wind, fire, or flooding, the fishbone is precise and structured. The lines are straight, the clearings are evenly spaced, and the pattern is not a single instance but a repeating process seen across multiple roads throughout the Amazon. The fishbone is not the work of ancient civilizations, nor is it a natural formation. It is a modern human-made phenomena created by policies and economic pressures. What started as a plan to bring development to the interior resulted in one of the most visually distinct patterns of deforestation anywhere in the world. Even today, the fishbone continues to change. Some sections have expanded into these vast open lands that are used for agriculture or cattle ranching, while others have been abandoned. Yet the marks left behind are lasting. They show how a seemingly endless forest can be carved up and divided into pieces, and how the effects of a single road can ripple outwards, transforming the land in a way that can be seen from orbit. Number 3. The Galle Crater. For as long as humans have looked at the stars, they've tried to find familiar shapes in the vastness of space. Constellations, nebulae, and even distant galaxies have been given names based on the things that they resemble. But few of these cosmic formations are as oddly familiar as the Galle Crater, a massive impact crater on Mars that looks exactly like a smiling face staring back at the universe. From orbit, the crater is nearly impossible to mistake for anything else. A curved mountain range forms the broad, upturned smile, while two dark patches, clusters of elevated terrain, sit above it like wide-set eyes. The effect is simple, yet unmistakable. Unlike the so-called face on Mars in Cydonia, which was later revealed to be a natural mesa distorted by shadow, Galle Crater's face remains consistent from every angle and under all lighting conditions. The crater was first photographed in the 1970s by NASA's Viking Orbiter 1, one of the first spacecraft to send back detailed images of Mars's surface. The crater sits at 51 degrees south and about 329 degrees east on the eastern rim of Argaea Planitia, one of the largest impact basins on Mars. The region is part of the Martian southern hemisphere, and the area is known for its vast, windswept lands and seasonal frost deposits. It's named after John Gottfried Galle, the 19th century German astronomer best known for his role in discovering Neptune. But while Galle's work was instrumental in mapping the outer planets, he could have never imagined that his name would one day be attached to a massive, smiling crater on another world. The face is purely coincidental. The curved mouth is a large arc of mountainous terrain along the southern rim of the crater, formed by the same forces that shaped the crater walls. Those eyes are darker patches of ground, possibly formed by ancient erosion, volcanic activity, or the settling of dust and sand over time. While the crater has maintained its recognizable smile for millions of years, it's not completely frozen in time. Mars is an active world, and subtle changes continue to shape the surface. As the season changes, the frost in the ground sublimates, turning directly from a solid to a gas, and that causes shifts in the landscape. Images taken nearly a decade apart show that the mouth of the face has grown wider as its frost patterns have altered the shape of the terrain. The nose, which once appeared as two separate bright spots, has started to blend into a single feature. It's been photographed by multiple spacecraft, including the Viking orbiter, the Mars Global Surveyor, and the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. Every time a new image is taken, the face remains unmistakable. Number 2. The Great Blue Hole. Seen from above, the Great Blue Hole is impossible to miss. A nearly perfect circle of deep blue water stands out sharply against the lighter turquoise of the surrounding reef. From space, it looks almost unnatural, a dark void in the middle of the Caribbean Sea. But this is no artificial structure. It's a massive underwater sinkhole off the coast of Belize. It's located about 80 kilometers off the coast. It sits at the center of Lighthouse Reef. That's a coral atoll in the Caribbean. It measures roughly 1,000 feet across and goes to a depth of over 400 feet. When astronauts aboard the ISS pass over the region, they often capture images of this strange feature, which does stand out as one of the most distinct natural formations. The hole itself wasn't always underwater. Geological studies suggest that it formed in phases during the last ice age, when sea levels were much lower. At the time, what is now the Great Blue Hole was a massive limestone cave. As the ice age ended and sea levels rose, the cave flooded, and its roof eventually collapsed, leaving behind this massive sinkhole visible today. Now, one of the most intriguing aspects of the Great Blue Hole is what it can tell scientists about past climate changes. Stalactites found inside the hole have been dated to multiple periods, with some forming over 150,000 years ago. By studying them, researchers can better understand how sea levels and climate conditions have changed over the millennia. Out of all the natural wonders on Earth, few are as visually striking from space as the Great Blue Hole. While other features like mountain ranges and river systems blend into their surroundings, this massive circular void in the ocean is unmistakable. Despite its mysterious and almost alien-like appearance, it's a natural formation along with a complex history. What began as a limestone cave on dry land eventually became one of the world's most famous underwater sinkholes. From space, it is one of the strangest and most recognizable shapes on the planet, an abyss in the middle of a paradise. Number 1. The Eye of the Sahara. The Richat structure, also known as the Eye of the Sahara, is one of the strangest but most recognizable landforms visible from space. It is located in the Sahara Desert of Mauritania. This nearly perfectly circular formation spans about 40 kilometers across. It looks like a massive target that's imprinted onto the Earth's surface with a series of concentric rings that ripple outwards. For years, the origin of it was subject of debate. When scientists first observed it, they assumed it must be an impact crater. Its nearly symmetrical circular shape seemed to match what would be expected from a massive meteor strike. However, closer investigation revealed no evidence of shock metamorphism. That's the kind of extreme pressure-related changes that typically happen when a meteorite collides with the Earth. That led researchers to consider other possibilities. The structure is now understood to be an uplifted geologic dome, also known as a domed anticline. During the Cretaceous period, somewhere between 145 and 66 million years ago, tectonic forces pushed layers of rock upward, forming this bulging dome. Over time, erosion then sculpted it, wearing away softer rocks while leaving behind more resistant materials in a pattern of ridges and valleys. These circular ridges, known as cuestas, give the formation its distinctive layered appearance when viewed from above. The Eye of the Sahara is more than just a geological oddity. It holds archaeological significance. Excavations around the structure have uncovered stone tools dating back roughly 2 million years. These artifacts, associated with early human ancestors like Homo erectus and Homo heidelbergensis, suggest that the region was once habitable, possibly featuring water sources and vegetation that supported human life. The idea that it could be a remnant of an ancient civilization or some form of lost city has been widely dismissed by scientists, though. Its size, composition, and erosion patterns all point to geological rather than human origins. While some theories have linked it to the fabled city of Atlantis, there's no credible evidence to support those claims. Though the formation is mostly understood, the mystery of its near-perfect symmetry keeps it in the realm of the unexplained. Whether viewed from the ground or from orbit, the Eye of the Sahara stands as a unique example of the power of natural forces reshaping the Earth in ways that still puzzle those who study it. Thanks for watching, everybody, and thanks to our channel members. I'll see you guys next time.